Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon. Mi melech Malachei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi melech Malachei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon. Mi melech Malachei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi melech Malachei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
So, can you hear me now? Can they hear me now? Can y'all hear me now? Can you hear me now? Okay, you can hear me now. Shana Tova, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Interfaith Family Project's High Holy Days. We've been doing these High Holy Days for 10 years now. and I'm thrilled to be a part of them. I'm Reverend Julia Jarvis, IFFP's spiritual director. And we are a home for interfaith families, individuals, grandparents, anybody who wants to be a part of us. We are here for you and we welcome everyone. Many things are different this year. We can't meet in person. I can't see you. I know you're there and I'm glad you're there. But what matters is the holiness that's here with us, between us, around us, above us, and all around us. It is here. I believe that. So just take a moment and let's take a few deep breaths. This is not been easier for us, for any of us. So just find your seat, feel your hands, feel your feet, and remember the breath that is in you, the breath of God, the breath that God gave you. And just take a few deep breaths in and out. These have been difficult times, and we need each other now more than ever. In the book Moby Dick, Herman Melville describes the character Ishmael is coming to terms with his new pagan friend. And he says, "Heaven have mercy on all of us, Presbyterians and pagans alike, for we are all dreadfully cracked about the head and sadly in needing of mending." So now more than ever in our time in this history, we need to turn around and transform to become more loving to all beings, including ourselves. And I'm so honored tonight to be here with my friends leading the service. First, Marcy Shegug has been the IFFP's musical director for over 20 years, and she'll be joined tonight with her husband, Rich, singing, and they have two daughters, Cameron and Jamie. And secondly, our new cantor this year, which I'm thrilled to introduce to you all, Steve Marcus is a professor of electrical engineering at the University of Maryland in College Park. He's a jazz musician, a lay cantor, and for many years he's been studying with Cantor Ramon Tessette and has been co-leading High Holy Day services at independent Jewish congregations. He and his wife, Jean, have been in an interfaith marriage for over 40 years, and they have two amazing sons and now a new grandbaby. We're so pleased to have Steve here with us. And finally, I want to warmly and joyously welcome IFFP's new rabbi, Rabbi Debbie Reichman. Rabbi Debbie used to be a lawyer working in the health policy arena, and after finding this work to not be a good fit, she began working at the Georgetown University Department of Campus Ministry with IFFP's Rabbi Emeritus, Rabbi Harold White. It was in this environment that she found her calling to become a rabbi. She was ordained in January 2012 from the Jewish Spiritual Leaders Institute. Rabbi Debbie was trained as a Jewish Universalist rabbi. Since ordination, she's performed and celebrated many life cycle events, including more than 100 weddings, most of which were interfaith. She was hired by IFFP last January, and she's our rabbi and Jewish spiritual leader. We're so pleased to have her. So please send her and me and Steve a lot of good energy for tonight. Let us begin.
Muted. Shana Tova, everybody. Thank you, Julia, for the lovely introduction. And welcome, everyone. We are getting through our glitches. They will pass. If you saw the chat, I asked I opened with asking everyone, wherever you are and with whomever you're with, to take a second and ask them sincerely if you have wronged them, intentionally or unintentionally, to please forgive you and that you should forgive others. But really, most importantly, I want you all to forgive yourselves. It's been a rough year. These are rough times. And even if it weren't, we're often harsher on ourselves than we should be. So take this chance to forgive yourself for the wrongs you've done, intentionally or unintentionally. We're about to start Kol Nidre, which is an old service. It only goes back a little over 1,000 years, so not quite as old as some of the others. It's in Aramaic, which means it was for everyone to hear and understand. And it's basically a legal construct. What we're doing is saying, for all the promises we make in this next coming year, we are absolving ourselves. Now, that doesn't mean that we're saying that we can lie and cheat. No, this is not a free pass. These are the promises. These are the vows we make to ourselves. We are recognizing that we are flawed, and we're try really hard to promise ourselves things and do them, and we're going to fail. So we're going to start the year with a preemptive clean slate, saying we're going to do our best, and we know we're going to fail, but this is how it's going to be. So please listen in as we have beautiful music, our cantor Steve, and we have a recording from Bob Schwartz on the beautiful Kol Nidre.
We're going to begin the formal Kol Nidre service by moving toward the Kol Nidre by singing a nigun, a wordless melody. Please join me. I'll sing it a couple of times and you'll get it. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai di 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 di. Yai di 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 di. Yai di 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 di.
Kol Nidre Vesare Vecharame Vekonome Vechinuye Vekinusei Ushvuot Din darena Urish tabana Uriacharimena V'diasarna Nafshatana Miyom Kippurim Zeh Ad Yom Kippurim Haba Aleinu Litova Bechul Hon Icharadna Vehon Kul Hon Yahon Sharan Shavitin Betelin Umivutalin Lo Sharirin Vela Kayamin Nidrana lo nidre Vesarana no esore Ushvuatana lo shavuot.
Kol Nidre Facharame Vekoname Vechinuye Vekinusei Vekinusei Ushavut Oh Dindana Oh Diacharimna Oh Sabana Vidyasarna Al Nafshatana Miyom Kippurim Zeh Ad Yom Kippurim Haba Shvikin shevitin betelin umevutalin Lasherin velakayamin Nidrana la nidre ve'esarana la esare Shivuatana la Shavuot Kol Nidre vesare v'charame v'koname v'chinuye v'kinusei v'kinusei u'shavuot Din darna Auristabana Odiacharimna Veriasdarna al nafshatana Miyom Kippurim zeh ad Yom Kippurim Haba aleinu letova Kulhon icharadna vehon Kulhon yehon shaharan Shvikin shevitin betelin umevutalin Lasheririn vilakayamin Nidrana la nidre Vesarana la esare Ushavuatana la Shavuot
All the weight of everything that we've vowed, excluded, failed, promised ourselves, swore we would, swore we wouldn't, cut ourselves off from the last Yom Kippur to the one that will come next year. May it be for good, all of them. We free ourselves from them from this moment. They are nothing. Our enmities, our limitations, our blame. They have no reality. they no longer exist. These vows were never vows. These oaths are not valid oaths. These bindings are released.
Baruch atah Adonai. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, shehecheyanu v'kiyemanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, ruler of the universe, who has kept us alive and sustained us and enabled us to reach this moment. We turn now to the Baruch Hu, the call to prayer, which begins the formal evening service after Kol Nidre. Please join me in the congregational response on the second line. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Leolam.
Blessing for the evening. Pray for you, Adonai, Spirit of the world, who shares with humanity the rhythm of the day, bringing the twilight and opening the gates of heavens. Your wisdom has set the changing of times and the varying of the seasons. We marvel at the stars in the sky. You have created the day and the night, rolling away the light before the dark and the dark from before the light. The day is divided from night, that we may behold the changes of your world. Your enduring guidance leads us forever. Praised are you, Adonai, who brings forth the mantle of evening.
We now move from that gratitude for creation to gratitude for God's love with Ahavat Olam. Ahavat Olam Beit Yisrael Amchavta Torah u'mitzvot chukim u'mishpatim otanu limadeta al kein Adonai Eloheinu b'shochveinu uvkumeinu nasiach bechukecha v'nizmak b'divrei Toratecha mitzvotecha leolam vaed ki hem chayenu biorech yameinu uvahem nege yomam valayla V'ahavatcha al tasir mimenu li'olamim Baruch atah Adonai Ohev amo Yisrael.
From ever you have loved us into life, nourished our forebears with teachings of kindness, In the same way, you will help us find our path, and we will rejoice as we come to understand your Torah and mitzvot. For they are our lives, the thread through our days, guiding us day and night. Your love will never depart from us. Blessed are you who relates to us in love.
We will chant the Shema together in Hebrew and then in English, and then we'll chant the V'ahavta in Hebrew. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto, Leolam Vahed. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol lavavecha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol meodecha v'hayu advarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'diparta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha uv'lechlecha v'derech uv'shokbecha uv'kumecha uv'kshatam liot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot bein einecha uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uv'isharecha. Mi chamocha ba'olim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar ba'kodesh, nora tehilot osef ele. Malchutcha radu vanecha, bokeh al yam lifnei Moshe. Ze'eli anu v'yamru together, Adonai imloch leolam va'ed. V'nehemar ki fada Adonai et Yaakov, ugalo chazak miyad chazak mimenu, Baruch ata Adonai, Gal Yisrael.
For on this day atonement shall be rendered unto you to cleanse you of all your misdeeds, so that we become pure before the Creator.
We turn next to the Chatzi Kaddish, which is the transition to the Amidah. Yitkadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah v'yalma divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael together b'gala Uvizman kariv ve'imru amen. Yesh me rabba mevarach le'alam ul almei almaya yitbarach yitbarach v'yishtabach V'yitpar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal, Shemeda Kudusha, Prichu together, Leila Uleila, Mikol Birchata Veshirata, Tushpechata V'nechemata, Tamiran Be'alma, Tamiran Be'alma, Vimru, Amen.
Amen. Make the God name big, big and holy. Do it in this world, this creation sprung from consciousness, and bring some order to this. Do it fast, soon, in our lives, in the days ahead, in the life of the people we call home. Everybody, join with me. May the name be blessed forever and ever. Yes, blessed. Blessed, whispered, sung out, shouted, honored, this holy name. The name far beyond any song, poem, or comforting words we could ever speak. Everybody say, that's the truth.
Come and find the quiet center in the crowded life we lead. Find the room for hope to enter. Find the frame where we are free. Clear the chaos and the clutter. Clear our eyes that we can see all the things that really matter. Be at peace and simply be. Silence is the friend who claims us, cools the heat and slows the pace. God it is who speaks and names us, knows our being, touches base, making space within our thinking, lifting shades to show the sun, raising courage when we're shrinking, finding scope for faith begun.
We turn now to the Amidah, which is really the central prayer of every Jewish service. Usually we stand for the Amidah, but given our particular circumstances here with tech and microphones, we're going to sit. So please do as is your practice. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi agita hilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei avoteinu ve'imotenu Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, ve'Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גואל לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. Together. זוכרנו לחיים, מלך חפץ בחיים, וכותבנו בספר החיים, למענך אלוהים חיים. מלך חוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי מתים אתה, רב להושיע. Join me. מכלכל חיים בסד, מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים. מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומיתו מלך. מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה. מי כמוך אל הרחמים, מי כמוך אל הרחמים, זוכר יצוריו, זוכר יצוריו, לחיים ברחמים, ונאמן אתה לחיות מתים, ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי המתים.
We rise to speak, a web of bodies aligned like notes of music. Bless what brought us through the sea and fire. We are caught in history like whales in polar ice. Yet you have taught us to push against the walls, to reach out and pull each other along, to strive to find the way through if there is no way around, to go on. To utter ourselves with every breath against the constriction of fear, to know ourselves as the body born from Abraham and Sarah, born out of rock and desert. We reach back through 200 arches of hips-long dust, carrying their memories inside us to live again in our life. Isaac and Rebekah, Rachel, Jacob, Leah, we say words shaped by ancient use, like steps worn into rock. Bless the quiet of sleep, easing over the ravaged body, who quiets the troubled waters of the mind to a pool in which shines the placid, broad face of the moon.
Bless the teachings of how to open and love, so all the doors and windows of the body swing wide on their rusty hinges, and we give ourselves with both hands. Bless what stirs in us compassion for the hunger of the chickadee in the storm, starving for seeds we can carry out. The wounded cat wailing in the alley, what shows us our face in a stranger. Who teaches us what we clutch shrivels, but what we give goes off in the world, carrying bread to people not yet born. Bless the gift of memory that breaks unbidden, released from a flower or a cup of tea, so the dead move like rain through the room. Bless what forces us to invent goodness every morning, and what never frees us from the cost of knowledge, which is to act on what we know again and again. All living are one and holy. Let us remember as we eat, as we work, as we walk and drive. All living are one and holy. We must make ourselves worthy. We must act out justice and mercy and healing as the sun rises and as the sun sets. As the moon rises and the stars wheel above us, we must repair goodness. We must
praise the power of the one that joins us. Whether we plunge in and thrust ourselves far out, finally we reach the face of glory. To bring for our eyes, and yet we burn, and we too give light. We will try to be holy. We will try to repair the world given us to hand on. Precious is this treasure of words and knowledge and deeds that move inside us. Holy is the hand that works for peace and for justice. Holy is the mouth that speaks for goodness. Holy is the foot that walks towards mercy. Let us lift each other on our shoulders and carry each other along. Let holiness move in us. Let us pay attention to its still, small voice. Let us see the light in others and honor that light.
remember the dad who paid our way here, dearly, dearly, and remember the unborn from whom we build our houses. Praise the light that shines before us, through us, after us. Amen. Thank you, Marge Piercy.
We turn now to Modima Nachnu Lach, which is one of the final blessings of the Amidah. It expresses gratitude, even in the most trying times, for miracles and wonders that are with us every day, evening, morning, and noon, if we only open our eyes and hearts to experience them. Modim anachnu lach, she'atahu Adonai Eloheinu, ve'Elohei avoteinu, le'olam va'ed. Modim anachnu lach, she'atahu Adonai Eloheinu, ve'Elohei imoteinu, le'olam va'ed. Tzur chayenu, magen yishenu, ata uledor vador, nodelecha, unisaper tehilatecha. Modim anachnu lach, she'atahu Adonai Eloheinu, ve'Elohei avoteinu, le'olam va'ed, le'olam, le'olam
We enter now into the service called Vidui, Confessions. We'll say this today, we'll repeat it tomorrow. These are confessions on an individual level, on a community level. They highlight our imperfections, for we have them, all human failings, but not failings of ritual. In these confessions, we are not apologizing to God for what we did not do for God. We are apologizing for what we did not do for one another and for what we did, unfortunately, do to one another.
Shema Koleinu Adonai Eloheinu Chus v'rachem aleinu V'kabel berachamim uvraton et tefillatenu Hashivenu Adonai Elecha v'nashuva Hashivenu Adonai Elecha v'nashuva Chadesh Yameinu Chadesh Yameinu Chadesh Yameinu Kekedem Shema Koleinu.
Hear our voices, awake all mercies. Accept our prayer from where we are now. Turn us towards you so we may return. Make all our days new again.
This beloved piyut, Kianu Amecha, it's a piyut or liturgical poem, describes the intimate relationship between us and the divine in a series of beautiful metaphors. Eloheinu v'Elohei avoteinu, zilach lanu mechal lanu, kaper lanu, ki anu amecha v'ata Eloheinu, Anu vanecha v'ata avinu, Anu avadecha v'ata Adonenu, Anu kelecha v'ata chelkeinu, Anu nachlatecha v'ata goraleinu, Anu tzonecha v'ata ro'enu, Anu rayatecha v'ata dodenu, Anu skulatecha v'ata krovenu, Anu amecha v'ata malkenu, Anu mamirecha v'ata mamirenu.
For we are your people, and you are our guide. We, your children, and you, our parent. We are your helpers, and you, our inspiration. We, your family, and you, our portion. We are your legacy, and you are our destiny. We, your flock, and you, our shepherd. We are your vineyard, and you are our tender. We, your accomplishment, and you, our creator. We are your spouse, and you are our beloved. We, your treasure, and you, our closest friend. We are your people, and you are our protector. We, your achievement, you, our director.
We turn now to the Ashamnu, the short confessional. On Yom Kippur, we are part of a community of forgiveness in which we can remove the armor from our hearts, be honest, we can beat our hearts, as we traditionally do for the Ashamnu, and express together the ways we have gone wrong. Ay, 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 Ashamnu, pagadnu, kazalnu, dibarnu dofi.
We have become desolate. We betrayed. We took what was not ours. We were hypocrites. We rationalized.
Ay, 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 ay. Hevinu, vehirshanu, zadnu, chamasnu, tafalnu sheker.
We rationalized. We caused others to do wrong. We deliberately did wrong. We let ends justify the means. We became accustomed to dishonesty.
Ay, 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 ay. Yatznura, kizavnu, latznu, maradnu, niatznu, sararnu, avinu, pashanu, tsararnu, kishinu oref.
We gave ignorant advice. We did not keep promises. We were contemptuous. We preferred transgression. We fostered anger. We looked the other way. We let impulses rule us. We had flexible ethics. We caused pain. We chose denial.
Ay, 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 ay. Rashanu, shichatnu, tiavnu, tainu, titanu.
We were violent. We were immoral. We were complicit in terrible acts. We did not learn from mistakes. We led others to mistakes. Al-Khet. This is the longer set of confessions. Al-Khet shechatanu lefanecha. These wrongs which we have committed. For our fault in accustoming ourselves to negative patterns, and for our fault in being judgmental, for our fault in confusing love and lust, and for our fault in not taking care of our bodies, for our fault in remembering prices but forgetting values, and for our fault in failing to maintain appropriate limits, for our fault in desacralizing the sacred, and for our fault in keeping relationships superficial, for our fault of arrogance and vanity, and for our fault in being unforgiving, for our fault in letting our hearts and minds split off, and for our fault in hiding from life behind mistrust.
Please join me. Ve'al kulam Eloha selichot selach lanu mechalanu kapelanu ve'al kulam Eloha selichot Selach lanu mechalanu, selach lanu mechalanu, kapelanu.
These wrongs which we have committed, for our fault in delaying critical decisions, and for our fault in ignoring our powers, for our fault in denying our flaws, for our fault in being overly defensive, for our fault in despairing, and for our fault by frivolity at dreadful times, for our fault in complaining and kvetching, and for our fault in being unappreciative, for our fault through lack of courage, for our fault through loss of faith, for our fault in doubting our ability to give and receive love, and for our fault in insisting that everything we do have a payoff.
Ve'al kulam Eloha selichot selach lanu mechalanu kapelanu ve'al kulam Eloha selichot selach lanu mechalanu selach lanu mechalanu kapelanu.
Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, for our fault in belittling and slandering, and for our fault in using violence, for our fault in lack of empathy and compassion, and for our fault in overreacting with anger, for our fault in dishonesty in business, and for our fault in controlling and coercing, for our fault in repeating gossip, and for our fault in listening to gossip, for our fault in false oaths, and for our fault in breaking promises, for our fault in pretending emotions we do not feel, and our fault in using the sins of others to excuse our own.
Ve'al kulam Eloha selichot selach lanu mechalanu kapelanu ve'al kulam Eloha selichot selach lanu mechalanu selach lanu mechalanu kapelanu.
These wrongs which we have committed, for our fault in passing judgment, and for our fault and loving our egos better than the truth. For our fault in condemning in our children the faults we tolerate in ourselves. For our fault in condemning in our parents the faults we tolerate in ourselves. For our fault in using people. For our fault in condescending. For our fault in begrudging others' happiness. And for our fault in withholding love and support. For our fault in not seeing the spark of divinity within every person we meet. And for our fault in not seeing the spark of divinity within ourselves.
Ve'al kulam Eloah selichot selach lanu mechalanu kapelanu ve'al kulam Eloah selichot selach lanu mechalanu selach lanu mechalanu kapelanu.
Al chet shechatanu lefanecha, for talking when we should be doing, and for intending but not carrying out, for using cynicism as an excuse for inaction, and for losing hope, for devaluing our power to help and to make change, and for our fault in filling the air with harmful chemicals, for our fault of making waters unhealthy for life, and for our fault of poisoning trees and soil, for our fault thoughtlessly damaging the life of our planet, and for the sin of war, for the sin of aggressive war, and for our fault in accepting and appeasing aggressors, for the sin of building ever more horrifying weapons, and for the sin of silence and indifference, for our failures to publicly criticize Israel or the Jewish people when they desecrate the name of God, and for our failures to publicly support the Jewish people in Israel when they are unfairly criticized.
Ve'al kulam Eloah selichot selach lanu mechalanu kapelanu ve'al kulam Eloah selichot selach lanu mechalanu selach lanu mechalanu kapelanu.
Yehiu leratzon imre'e fi vehigion libi lefanecha. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart reflect my love before you.
Oh, say shalom b'romav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, v'yal kol Yisrael, v'yimru, amen. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, v'yal kol Yisrael, Yaseh shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu v'Yakol Yisrael. Say Shalom b'mromav, Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu v'Yakol Yisrael. V'Imru, Amen. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu v'Yakol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu v'Yakol Yisrael.
Shana Tova. Hello, everybody. Hope everyone's hanging in on this isolation Kol Nidre. I have to start with saying I am so pleased and happy and excited that I am IFFP's rabbi. It is amazing that I am here, and there are a million reasons why I'm happy and excited to be IFFP's rabbi, but one, without doubt, is IFFP Sunday School. It lifts my heart to know that our children are being taught their cultural and religious heritage, that they are finding common ground, that they are in a most fundamental way living an interfaith life. The crown jewel of the Sunday School curriculum is the Coming of Age program. The 7th and 8th graders have to jump in and into the deep end of theology and philosophy. And they don't sink, they swim. They examine these 5 questions. What does it mean to be interfaith? What does it mean to live a meaningful life? Why do bad things happen? Is there an afterlife? Who or what is God? Really easy questions. If we're asking our middle schoolers to think about these questions, it's only fair to spend some time in thinking about them ourselves. This evening, I'm going to tackle a tiny bit of one of the questions. Who or what is God? Short answer is, I don't know. But that makes for a poor sermon. The long answer is also, I don't know. But I'm going to look at what other scholars have said and come up with a plan to tackle this. Philosophers have tried to prove God's existence for 1,000 years. St. Anselm in the 11th century defined God as a being than which no greater can be conceived. The philosopher René Descartes in the 17th century took this one step further, and I'm simplifying his words here, that we can derive the existence of God from the idea of a supremely perfect being. Since we do have the idea of a supremely perfect being, we must conclude that a supremely perfect being exists. Confused? Yeah. You and a lot of other people, myself included. These arguments, though, all fail unless you agree on a basic supposition that God exists, and that comes down to faith. So let's put aside the existence of God, and instead, let's examine how our definition of God can help us understand. Rambam, Moses ben Maimon, a Jewish scholar of the 12th century, framed it like this. He argued that God is one, like we say in the Shema, and therefore does not have parts, not physical parts and not metaphysical parts. In his book, The Guide to the Perplexed, Rambam wrote, "Those who believe that God is one and that he has many attributes declare the unity with their lips and assume the plurality in their thoughts." So how can one describe God? Rambam concludes that you can describe what God is not. And when you read in the Torah or somewhere else, God is like, fill in the blank, Rambam tells us this is an allegory. Well, here we are nearing the end of the High Holy Days, and we have repeated, and we will repeat again, the 13 attributes of mercy. These are verses from Exodus chapter 34. Adonai, Adonai, a God compassionate and gracious, slow to anger, abounding in kindness and faithfulness, extending kindness to the 1,000th generation, forgiving iniquity, transgression, and sin. On the face of it, if we stay with Rambam's restrictions, then these words do not think what we think they mean. God does not have human emotions or feelings, so God is none of those things. Then how can we use these descriptors to understand God? Rambam says the solution is to find these in God's actions. Got a problem with this. I really do. Because I have no way of identifying God's actions. In the Torah, I can scour the words in the text and analyze those. Not just me. It's been done for thousands of years. And in that context, it works because you know what God did. But in today's world, I don't have a narrator telling me what God did or did not cause something to happen. I have no idea. The Talmud gives us another perspective, teaching that the repetition of Adonai, Adonai in the 13 attributes of mercy mean I am the eternal before a person sins and the same after a person sins and repents. God is the same regardless of our actions, and it is our actions that change us, not God. It is we who move closer and farther from God. God's love is constant. If we pull in another complicated and contested idea, oh, I'm having fun tonight. We are made in God's image. The Talmud's perspective becomes clearer in this sense. So what does that mean to be made in God's image? Scholars have debated this from time immemorial. We're talking about our physical selves, our psychological selves, our spiritual selves. The way I look at it is being made in God's image is a way to understand human potential. There's always room for improvement. So if our actions are modeled on our description of God in the 13 attributes of mercy, then we can continue to work towards tikkun olam, repairing the world. We can be compassionate. We can be gracious. We can be slow to anger. We can be kind and faithful. We can extend our benevolence across time. We can forgive others. We come closer to understanding God when we act as God is described. As the coming of age class students will discover, and the rest of us will rediscover, our understanding grows and changes as we grow and change. So this is a good exercise for any age. Who or what is God? I still don't know. But if I can model the 13 attributes of mercy, I can come a little closer to understanding what my potential as a human being can be. And I'll be that much closer to understanding God. And really, that is all I can ask of myself. Shana Tova.
Thank you, Rabbi. Those beautiful words. And it is upon us, Elenu. So I want us to just take some time after kind of still hearing the vibrations of Rabbi's word to us to think about what is upon us, what is our duty this day, these days. And just take a moment if you want to say to each other as a family or say out loud, it is upon me or it is upon us. Just take a moment to do that with one another. So we hope that the many gods of divisiveness and distortion, of pride and destruction, all the sad, broken pieces of the whole, find their way back into the single vessel of life, that the world may be repaired. We hold on to this vision despite history, despite what's happening right now, in the face of despair, because one day the whole world will acknowledge the divine, and on that day we will understand unity.
Please join me in Aleinu. Aleinu l'shabeach l'Adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי ארצות, ולא שמענו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. אנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יחיה אדוני אחד ושמו echad.
We come now to the Mourner's Kaddish. Prayer we say to acknowledge those we have lost, both recently and in the distant past, those who were as close to us as family, and those who we admired from afar. Whoever it is whose soul or whose souls you hold in your heart, we join in community to say this prayer. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, ve'alma divrach chirutei, ve'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon uvyomechon, uv'chaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kariv, ve'imru. Amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam umei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach, v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal, shmed kudusha, richu, le'ela ule'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehi shlama Rabbah min Shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Everything becomes fuller and increases in holiness here in this intentionally created world. May we and everyone around us be able to see this every day of our lives, and may we see it soon. Amen. May this holiness, whatever we name it, be blessed in this world and in any other world that might be. Holiness is growing, it is transcendent, it is wonderful, it is always reaching higher. It goes far beyond any prayer or praise or comfort that can be offered in any world. Amen. May heavenly peace come into our lives and those of all people. Amen. May the harmony that prevails in the heavens guide us and all people to peace. And let us say, Amen. It is now my honor to introduce the next video made by our board of directors. It's about IFFP. They work so hard along with our other volunteers and staff to make this a vibrant, beautiful, and growing community. So I will ask you to please spend the next 3 minutes watching this. And if you really need to be distracted, the last page of your electronic mahzor, the PDF, is a pledge card, much like a pledge card you would have found in their actual book mahzorim. So you can look at that for to whether you want to pledge online or send in a check in person, through the mail, not in person, please. Thank you.
A sweet welcome to our IFFP community and visitors from the IFFP board. We hope you have enjoyed our annual, yet virtual, High Holy Day services. We are in our 25th year, which we celebrate virtually on October 25th. Join us. The core value of IFFP is respect for each other, for Judaism, and for Christianity. As a community, we celebrate, explore, and question both religious traditions. IFFP members neither reject our religious backgrounds nor seek a new mixed religion. Instead, we believe it is possible and desirable to honor our distinct religious traditions and to share those traditions with spouses, partners, children, and family. IFFP meets about 3 Sundays a month during the school year. Other activities are often organized by our Tikkun alum groups. Throughout the summer, IFFP has small group events like a camping trip and a baseball game. Our Sunday mornings typically include a gathering, Sunday school, and an adult group discussion. The IFFP Sunday School curriculum starts in preschool and culminates with a coming-of-age celebration. Each class is taught by a Jewish and Christian community member, accompanied by a post-coming-of-age intern. Led by Reverend Julia and Rabbi Debbie, our gatherings are filled with prayers and readings that both Christians and Jews find familiar. Traditional and popular music is performed by our member-led IFFP band. And throughout the year, we sponsor special events like an annual women's retreat, couples workshops, and community service opportunities for people of all ages. Are you a family with school-age children? We have activities all year to engage children and their parents too. Some of them include Tu B'Shavat celebration, Purim play and carnival, Lent ideas, Passover Seder, Easter services with a community breakfast and an egg hunt for the little ones, dedicated children's services for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, Hanukkah festivities, a nativity play, Christmas lessons and carols. These activities are for adults too. One of our Catholic community members recalls her first High Holy Days, attending our children's services. She said it was the perfect introduction for a newbie as she learned, prayed, and sang right alongside her young daughters. IFFP does not require tickets to attend High Holy Day services. Anyone who wants to join us can. At the same time, we depend on your financial support to continue offering our programming. Today, please consider giving what you are able. Visit our website to donate, iffp.net/donate. Like much of the world, we've moved online temporarily. Our staff has been working incredibly hard to bring meaning to our virtual gatherings and holidays, Sunday school, and adult groups. Until we can celebrate together again in person, we look forward to seeing you virtually.
Eli, Shelo Yigamer Liolam, Hakol V'Hayom, Rishru Shel Hamayim, Barak Hashamayim, Tefilat Hadam, Hakol V'Hayom, Rishru Shel Hamayim, Barak Hashamayim, Tefilat Hadam. Oh Lord, my God, I pray that these never end. The sand and the sea, the rush of the waters, the crash rush of the heavens, the prayer of the heart, the sand and the sea, the rush of the waters, the crash of the heavens, the prayer of the heart.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us this evening. Hope to see you all at 10 a.m. tomorrow morning for Yom Kippur Day. And take your hearts, full as they are with compassion and love. Hug those you can hug. Virtually hug anyone else you can and want to. And have a easy fast. We'll see you tomorrow morning.
You don't think they can hear us?
There's only 41 people logged on now anyway.
Okay. Well, if they can hear us. Thank you all. That was
Thank you.
I just want to make sure, because we're not going to be live tomorrow, and there's some things that we always do, like during the Yit Score, where we say people's names that have died, and I just, like Trina